to an accident. The signal that you will hear if it becomes necessary to evacuate the building will be an automated voice. Please follow the instructions given. To evacuate the building, all those present must use the marked emergency exits. Divers and officials must not return to the changing rooms to collect their clothes or belongings. In line with the recommendations in the Swim England Child Protection Policy, the promoters of this event request that any person wishing to engage in any video, Zoom, or close-range photography, including the use of mobile telephones with image capturing facility, must register their details with staff at the entrance control before carrying out any such photography. Thank you. Another call for athletes for the first two finals this afternoon, the Group A boys 1 metre and the Group B boys 3 metre finals. Please make their way over to the call room immediately, please. And can we also call judges again? All judges for every event to go over to the call assembly area, please. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sandwell Aquatics Centre for the 2024 British Elite Junior Diving Championships. Welcome to this afternoon's events, which will feature the following finals. Boys B 3 metre, Boys A 1 metre, Girls B 3 metre, Girls A platform, the Boys C 3 metre and the Girls C 3 metre. Our thanks go to all our sponsors and partners without whom this event would not be possible. Aquatics GB, funding partner UK Sport, official partner Speedo and Labara, official suppliers SOS and Healthspan, endorsed product Dive Recorder, and our host venue SLT, creating an active Sandwell. We'd like to take this opportunity to thank all the volunteers, without which events like this would not be possible. Can I ask for a round of applause for all our volunteers, please? Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm hand for your judges. Our chief referee, Susie Bamber, James Hadley, Alice Clark, Lindsay Fraser, Bill Clark, Jane Ogden, Emily Saunders, Nigel Mills, Kim Young, Thomas Screeton, Kim White, Fito Gutierrez, and Mandy Eby. Ladies and gentlemen, your officials. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your athletes in the first two finals of this afternoon, the Group B Boys 3 metre and the Group A Boys 1 metre. Beginning with the Group B Boys 3 metre finalists. Start 1, Andre Golovati, representing Southampton Diving Academy. Start 2, Noah Underwood, Plymouth Diving Club. Start 3, Jed Brown, Southampton Diving Academy. Start 4, Simeon Gregg, City of Sheffield Diving Club. Start 5, our guest, Jackson Monas from Aces Diving Club. Start 6, Robbie Wood, City of Sheffield Diving Club. Start 7, Finn McFarlane from Cambridge Dive Team. And start 8, Sebastian Wilcox, City of Sheffield Diving Club. And now, please welcome the Group A Boys 1 metre finalists. Start 1, Archie Waynes, Plymouth Diving Club. Start 2, Lachlan Stark from Edinburgh Diving Club. Start 3, Conor Lano from Southend Diving. Start 4, Lewis Nielsen, City of Sheffield Diving Club. Start 5, Oliver Heath, Plymouth Diving Club. Start 6, Bryn James, Southampton Diving Academy. Start 7, Todd Geggers from Southend Diving. And finally, start 8, Noah Penman from Aberdeen Diving Club. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are able, please be upstanding for the national anthem. Thank you, everybody. Can we have judges to seats, please, and athletes to boards? Thank you.
I have the referee's permission. Do we have the first diver? Yes. We have a slight technical issue. Sorry, Andre. We're trying to sort it out as quickly as we can. We're going to try and go. Let's see how it goes. Your first diver is on the board. Andre Golovati from Southampton Diving Academy. Forward 2.5 somersaults, Pite. 6.5, 6.5, 6.5, 7, 5.5, 6.5, 6.5. Noah Underwood, Plymouth Diving, back 1.5 somersaults, 1.5 twist, position free. Six and a half, 7, 6.5, 6.5, 6, 6, 6. Jed Brown, Southampton Diving, forward 2.5 somersaults, Pite. 7.5, 6, 6, 6.5, 6, 6.5, 6. Simeon Gregg, City of Sheffield, forward 2.5 somersaults, 1 twist, Pite. 6.5, 5, 4.5, 5.5, 5.5, 5.5, 6. Jackson Monas, Aces Diving Club, forward 3.5 somersaults with tuck. Eight, 6.5, 7.5, 8. Robbie Wood, City of Sheffield, back 1.5 somersaults, 2.5 twists, position free. Three and a half, 1.5, 3, 3, 5, 5, 4. Finn McFarlane, Cambridge Dive Team, forward 2.5 somersaults, pint. Six and a half, 7, 6, 6, 5, 6, 6. Sebastian Wilcox, City of Sheffield, forward 2.5 somersaults, 1 twist, pint. Five and a half, 5.5, 5, 4.5, 4, 5, 5.5. Round 2, Andre, back 2.5 somersaults with tuck. Six, 5, 5.5, 6, 5, 4, 5. Noah, inward 2.5 somersaults with tuck. Six, 5.5, 5, 5, 6, 6, 5.5. Jed, inward 2.5 somersaults with tuck. Six and a half, 6.5, 6.5, 6, 6, 6, 6. Simeon, forward 2.5 somersaults, pint. 7.5, 7.5, 7.5, 7, 6.5, 7, 7.5. Jackson, back 2.5 somersaults with tuck. Six, 5, 5, 4.5, 5.5, 4.5, 6. Robbie, back 2.5 somersaults with tuck. Four, 4, 4, 3.5, 3, 4, 4. Finn, inward 2.5 somersaults with tuck. Six and a half, 7.5, 7, 6.5, 6.5, 6.5, 7. Sebastian, back 2.5 somersaults with tuck. Seven, 5.5, 6, 5.5, 5.5, 5.5, 5.5. Round 3, Andre, reverse 2.5 somersaults with tuck. Three and a half, 3.5, 3, 3, 4, 3, 2.5. Noah, back 2.5 somersaults with tuck. Five and a half, 5.5, 5.5, 5, 4.5, 5, 5.5. Jed, back 2.5 somersaults with tuck. Four and a half, 3.5, 3.5, 3, 3, 2.5, 4. Simeon, reverse 2.5 somersaults with tuck. 8.5, 7.5, 8, 7.5, 7.5, 8, 8. Jackson, reverse 2.5 somersaults with tuck. Five and a half, 5, 5, 4.5, 6, 5, 5.5. Robbie, reverse 2.5 somersaults with tuck. Five, 5.5, 4.5, 5, 4.5, 6, 5.5. Finn, back 1.5 somersaults, pint. Seven, 8, 7.5, 8, 7, 7, 8.5. Sebastian, reverse 2.5 somersaults with tuck. Eight and a half, 8, 8, 7.5, 7.5, 7, 8. Final round of dives. Andre Golovati, Southampton Diving Academy. Inward 2.5 somersaults with tuck. Six, 6, 5.5, 6, 6, 7, 7. Noah Underwood, Plymouth Diving Club. Reverse 2.5 somersaults with tuck. Five and a half, 6, 6, 5.5, 6, 6, 6.5. Jed Brown, Southampton Diving Academy, forward 1.5 somersaults, 2 twists, position 3. Six and a half, 6.5, 6.5, 6, 6, 5.5, 7.5. Simeon Gregg, City of Sheffield, inward 2.5 somersaults with tuck. 7.5, 7, 7.5, 7, 7, 7, 8.5. Jackson Monas, Aces Diving Club, inward 2.5 somersaults with tuck. Seven, 7, 7, 7, 6.5, 6.5, 7.5. Robbie Wood, City of Sheffield Diving Club, inward 2.5 somersaults with tuck. Seven, 6.5, 6.5, 6.5, 6.5, 6, 7. Finn McFarlane, Cambridge Dive Team, back 1.5 somersaults, a half twist, position free. Seven, 7.5, 7.5, 7, 7, 7, 8. Sebastian Wilcox, City of Sheffield Diving Club, inward 2.5 somersaults with tuck. Five, 5.5, 5, 4.5, 6, 6, 6.5. Thank you, divers. Thank you, judges and recorders. We will have the results for you shortly, and the presentations will take place for this event after the next parade of athletes and judges. Thank you. And we have the results of that last competition in reverse order. In 7th place from Southampton, Andre Golovati, 331.95. In 6th place, Jed Brown, Southampton Diving, 334.8. Can I ask judges, please, could you take your seats for this next final? Judges to seats, please. Could we have competitors ready for the competition? Judges, please could you take your seats so we can get this competition underway? I have the referee's permission. We have the first diver on the board. Please welcome Archie Waynes, Plymouth Diving, inward 1.5 somersaults, pint. Six and a half, 7, 6.5, 7.5, 7.5, 7.5. Lachlan Stark, Edinburgh Diving Club, forward 1.5 somersaults, 2 twists, position free. Six, 5.5, 6, 6.5, 6, 6.5, 6. Conolano, Southend Diving, inward 1.5 somersaults, pint. Seven, 7, 7.5, 7.5, 7, 7, 7.5. Lewis Nielsen, City of Sheffield, inward 1.5 somersaults, pint. Seven, 7.5, 7.5, 7.5, 7.5, 7.5, 7. Oliver Heath, Plymouth Diving Club, inward 1.5 somersaults, pint. Eight, 7, 7, 6.5, 7, 7.5, 7.5. Bryn James, Southampton Diving Academy, forward 1.5 somersaults, 2 twists, position free. Seven and a half, 7.5, 7, 8, 7.5, 7.5, 8. Todd Geggers, South End diving, back 1.5 somersaults, pite. Six and a half, six and a half, six and a half, six and a half, seven, six and a half, six and a half. Noah Penman, Aberdeen diving, forward 2.5 somersaults, pite. Seven, six and a half, six, seven and a half, seven, seven, seven. Round 2, Archie, forward 2.5 somersaults, pite. Six, five and a half, six, 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 six and a half, six. Lachlan, forward 2.5 somersaults, pite. Seven, 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 six and a half, seven and a half, six and a half. Connor, forward 2.5 somersaults, pite. Six and a half, seven, six and a half, seven, 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 six. Lewis, forward 2.5 somersaults, pite. Six and a half, 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 six. Oliver, forward 2.5 somersaults, pite. Six, 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 six and a half, seven. Bryn, back 1.5 somersaults, pite. Five and a half, six and a half, five and a half, six, six and a half, six, five and a half. Todd, forward 3.5 somersaults with tuck. 8, 8.5, 8.5, 8.5, 9, 9, 9. Noah, back 2.5 somersaults with tuck. 3, 3, 3.5, 4, 3.5, 3.5, 3. Round 3. Archie, back 1.5 somersaults, pike. 5, 5, 5, 5, 5.5, 6, 5. Lachlan, back 1.5 somersaults, pike. 6, 6, 6, 7, 6.5, 6, 6. Connor, back 1.5 somersaults, pike. 6, 6, 6.5, 6, 6.5, 6, 6.5. Lewis, back 1.5 somersaults, pike. 6.5, 6, 7, 6.5, 6, 6.5, 6.5. Oliver, reverse 1.5 somersaults, pike. 7, 7, 7, 7.5, 7.5, 7, 7.5. Bryn, reverse 2.5 somersaults with tuck. 7, 6.5, 6.5, 6.5, 7, 7, 6. Todd, inward 2.5 somersaults with tuck. 6, 4.5, 6, 5, 6, 5.5, 5.5. Noah, reverse 2.5 somersaults with tuck. Seven, 5.5, 6.5, 6.5, 6.5, 6.5, 6. Round 4, Archie, reverse 1.5 somersaults, pite. Seven, 6.5, 7, 6.5, 7, 7, 7. Lachlan, reverse 2.5 somersaults with tuck. Four and a half, 4, 5, 4, 4, 5, 4.5. Connor, reverse 1.5 somersaults, pite. Four and a half, 5, 5.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5. Lewis, reverse 1.5 somersaults, pite. Six and a half, 6.5, 7, 6.5, 6.5, 6, 7. Oliver, back 1.5 somersaults, pite. Six and a half, 7, 6.5, 7, 7, 6.5, 6.5. Bryn, inward 1.5 somersaults, pite. Seven, 7, 7, 7, 7, 6.5, 7. Todd, reverse 2.5 somersaults with tuck. Six, 6, 6, 6.5, 7, 7, 6.5. Noah, inward 2.5 somersaults with tuck. 7, 6.5, 6.5, 6.5, 7, 7, 6. Final round of dives. Archie Wayne's Plymouth Diving Club. Forward 1.5 somersaults, 2 twists, position free. Six, 6, 5.5, 5, 5.5, 6.5, 6. Lachlan Stark, Edinburgh Diving Club, inward 1.5 somersaults, piked. Seven, 7, 7, 6.5, 7, 7.5, 7. Conolano, Southend Diving, back 1.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists, position free. Seven, 7, 7, 8, 7.5, 8, 8. Lewis Nielsen, City of Sheffield, forward 1.5 somersaults, 2 twists, position free. Six, 6, 6.5, 6, 6.5, 6.5, 5.5. Oliver Heath, Plymouth Diving Club, forward 1.5 somersaults, 2 twists, position free. Seven, 6, 7.5, 7.5, 6.5, 7, 6. Bryn James, Southampton Diving Academy, forward 2.5 somersaults, piked. Seven, 7, 7, 7, 8, 7, 7.5. Todd Geggers, Southend Diving, forward 1.5 somersaults, 2 twists, position free. Seven, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 6.5. Noah Penman, Aberdeen Diving Club, reverse 1.5 somersaults, 2.5 twists, position free. Six and a half, 7, 7, 7.5, 6.5, 7, 6.5. Thank you, divers, judges and recorders. We will have those results in just a moment, and we will do the presentation shortly. Can I ask the medalists, please, to make their way to the parade assembly area? Simeon, Jackson, Sebastian, and Finn, together with the competitors in the next finals. So that's the girls group B 3 meter, the girls A platform, the boys C 3 meter, and the girls C 3 meter. Judges, can you be prepared to take your seats once we have the presentation over with? Thank you. And we have the results of the boys group A 1 meter final in reverse order. In 8th place, Archie Wayne's Plymouth Diving 405.45. 7th place, Lackland Stark Edinburgh Diving 406.35. 6th place, Lewis Nielsen City of Sheffield 421.45. 5th place, Conolano Southend Diving 423.85. 4th place, Oliver Heath, Plymouth Diving, 442.60. And your medalists in 3rd place, Bryn James, Southampton Diving, 448.55. 2nd place, Noah Penman, Aberdeen Diving, 459.05. And your winner, Todd Gegger, Southend Diving, 475.40. Please could Bryn, Noah and Todd make their way to the parade assembly area, please, immediately. Thank you. Please can we close the boards while we do the parades and presentations?
Can we please ask for the competitors in the 4 remaining finals today to make their way over to the parade assembly area? That's the Group B girls 3 meter, Group A girls platform, Group C boys 3 meter, and the Group C girls 3 meter final. And we are just waiting for Isla Appin and Ella Sweet, please, to make their way to the parade assembly area. Thank you. So on this we've got 4, haven't we? Got a guest silver.
Yeah. I hereby bequeath those to you, David Bauer. I need to go across because Jane's thing's not working. Whoever we're still missing, have you got a radio here? Right, if we're missing anybody, I'll radio you. And if it stops, Karen, see you again. Right, okay, David, are you ready?
Yeah, I was just going to get this up. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to poolside the finalists in the Group B Girls 3 metre, the Group A Girls platform, the Group C Boys 3 metre, and the Group C Girls 3 metre finalists. Beginning with the Group B Girls 3 metre finalists. Start 1, Jessica Nern from Edinburgh Diving Club. Start 2, Alice Bilton from Southend Diving. Start 3, Scarlett DeMello from Edinburgh Diving Club. Start 4, Emma Mansfield from Southend Diving. Start 5, Caitlin Costa, Dive London Aquatics Club. Start 6, Lexi Clark from Dive London Aquatics Club. Start 7, Kate Gardner from City of Leeds Diving Club. And start 8, Sky Fisher Eames from Dive London Aquatics Club. And moving on to the Group A Girls Platform finalists. Start 1, Natalie Barr, Southampton Diving Academy. Start 2, Etta Dodsworth, City of Sheffield Diving Club. Start 3, Lily Chandler, Southampton Diving Academy. Start 4, Lucy Parker, Dive London Aquatics Club. Start 5, Elizabeth Hart, Southampton Diving Academy. Start 6, Hannah Blake, City of Sheffield Diving Club. Start 7, Libby Duke, Edinburgh Diving Club. And start 8, Hannah Newbrook from Dive London Aquatics Club. And on to the finalists in the Group C Boys 3 metre. Start 1, our guest Phoenix Victory Hopkins from Do Dive Dubai. Start 2, Zane Seller from Aberdeen Diving Club. Start 3, Felix Wheeler from City of Leeds Diving Club. Start 4, Harry King, Southampton Diving Academy. Start 5, Samuel Thomason from Aberdeen Diving Club. Start 6, Joshua Saxton, Dive London Aquatics Club. And start 7, Ralph Airy from the City of Leeds Diving Club. And on to the Group C Girls 3 metre finalists. Start 1, Isla Applin, Plymouth Diving Club. Start 2, Ella Sweet, Southampton Diving Academy. Start 3, Willow Stephen McGrath, City of Sheffield Diving Club. Start 4, Alice Murphy, Southend Diving. Start 5, Izzy Diacon from City of Sheffield Diving Club. Start 6, Jamila Eakin from Edinburgh Diving Club. And finally, start 7, Imogen Poole from Southampton Diving Academy. Good luck, boys and girls. Divers on the 3 metre, can you come down immediately, please? We're about to do a medal presentation. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the victory ceremony for the Group B boys 3 metre. To be presented by Alexei Evangelov, head coach. In 3rd place, representing Cambridge Dive Team, with a score of 377.30, Finn McFarlane. In 2nd place, representing City of Sheffield Diving Club, with a score of 379.7, Sebastian Wilcox. And we have a guest silver medal to present, representing Aces Diving Club, with a score of 394.25, Jackson Monas. And your gold medalist and Group B boys 3 metre 2024 GB Elite Junior Diving Champion, representing City of Sheffield Diving Club, with a score of 403.15, Simeon Gregg. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big hand to your Group B boys 3 metre medalists.
Well, it must be just these two because there's only been two anyway, hasn't there? Shoot. Thank you. Well, don't say that, but that is the only last one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the victory ceremony for the Group A boys 1 metre final. Medals once again to be presented by Alexei Evangelov, head coach. In third place, representing Southampton Diving Academy with a score of 448.55, Bryn James. Your silver medalist, representing Aberdeen Diving Club with a score of 459.05, Noah Penman. And in gold medal position on Group A boys, 1 metre GB Elite Junior Diving Champion 2024, representing Southampton Diving Club with a score of 475.4, Todd Gagas. I do apologise, I should have said Southend Diving Club. Sorry, Todd. Ladies and gentlemen, a big hand for your Group A boys 1 metre medalists. Yes, girls, you're okay for training for 10 minutes. Can we ask the judges to cease, please, for the Group B girls 3-metre final up and coming in a few moments? Thank you. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 1, 2. Further call for judges to make their way to their seats, please, for the Group B girls 3-metre final. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Group B girls 3-metre final. Our first diver, Jessica Nairn from Edinburgh Diving Club. Forward 2.5 somersaults, pikes. Six and a half, 6.5, 6, 6, 6.5, 6.5, 6.5. Alice Bilton, Southend Diving, in with 2.5 somersaults with tug. Seven, 6, 6.5, 6, 6, 6.5, 6.5. Scarlett de Mello, Edinburgh Diving Club. Back 1.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists, free position. Five and a half, 6, 5.5, 5.5, 5.5, 6, 6. Emma Mansfield, Southend Diving. Back 1.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists, free position. 5, 5, 5, 5, 4.5, 5, 5. Caitlin Costa, Dive London Aquatics Club. Forward 2.5 somersaults, height. Seven, 7, 7, 6, 6.5, 6.5, 7.5. Lexi Clark, Dive London Aquatics Club. Forward 2.5 somersaults, height. Seven and a half, 7, 6.5, 7, 7, 6.5, 7. Kate Gardner, City of Leeds Diving Club. Inward 2.5 somersaults with tug. Six, 6, 6, 5.5, 6, 6, 6.5. Sky Fisher Reeves, Dive London Aquatics Club. Forward 2.5 somersaults, height. Seven and a half, 8, 7.5, 7.5, 7, 7, 8. Round 2, Jessica, inward 2.5 somersaults with tuck. Six, 5.5, 4.5, 6, 5.5, 5.5, 6.5. Alice, forward 2.5 somersaults, height. Six and a half, 6.5, 7, 6, 6.5, 6, 7. Scarlett, inward 2.5 somersaults with tug. Three and a half, 3.5, 4, 3.5, 3.5, 5, 3.5. Emma, back 2.5 somersaults with tug. Seven and a half, 7, 6.5, 6.5, 7, 6, 7.5. Caitlin, reverse 2.5 somersaults with tug. Seven and a half, 6.5, 6.5, 6, 6.5, 6.5, 7. Lexi, inward 2.5 somersaults with tug. Six, 5.5, 5.5, 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5. Kate, reverse 1.5 somersaults, pint. Six, 6, 6.5, 5.5, 5.5, 5.5, 6. Sky, inward 2.5 somersaults with tug. Five, 5, 5, 4.5, 5, 6, 5.5. Final round, Jessica Nairn, Edinburgh Diving Club. Back 1.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists, free position. Six and a half, 6, 6, 6, 7, 5.5, 6. Alice Bilton, Southend Diving. Back 1.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists, free position. Six, 6, 6.5, 5.5, 6.5, 6.5, 7. Scarlett de Mello, Edinburgh Diving Club. Back 2.5 somersaults with tug. Six and a half, 6, 6, 5.5, 6, 5.5, 5.5. Emma Mansfield, Southend Diving. Inward 2.5 somersaults with tug. 6.5, 7, 7, 6.5, 7.5, 6.5, 7.5. Caitlin Costa, dive London Aquatics slope. Inward 2.5 somersaults with tug. Seven and a half, 7, 7, 6.5, 7, 7, 7.5. Lexi Clark, dive London Aquatics Club. Back 1.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists, free position. Six, 6.5, 6.5, 7, 7, 6.5, 7. Kate Gardner, City of Leeds Diving Club. Forward 2.5 somersaults, height. Five and a half, 5.5, 5.5, 5.5, 5.5, 5.5, 5.5. And our final diver, Sky Fisher Reams, dive London Aquatic Slope. Back 1.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists, free position. Six, 6, 5.5, 6, 6, 6, 5.5. That completes the Group B Girls 3-metre final. Thank you, divers. Thank you, officials. We'll have the results for you very shortly. We have the results of the Group B Girls 3-metre final. In 8th place, Scarlett de Mello, Edinburgh Diving Club, 286.35. 7th, Jessica Nairn from Edinburgh Diving Club, 297.75. 6th, Emma Mansfield, Southend Diving, 306.25. 5th, Kate Gardner, City of Leeds Diving Club, 313.0. 4th place, Alice Bilton, Southend Diving, 314.85. 3rd place, Lexi Clark, Dive London Aquatics Club, 321.45. 2nd, Caitlin Costa, Dive London Aquatics Club, 333.70. And in gold medal position, Sky Fisher Eames from Dive London Aquatics Club with a score of 336.35.
Can I ask judges, please, for this next event, the Girls Group A platform, to make their way to their seats, please. Judges for the Group A Girls platform final. Thank you. I have the referee's permission, and I think Natalie is making her way up to 10 metre. Our first diver is on the board. Natalie Barr, Southampton Diving Academy, inward 2.5 somersaults, height 10 metre. Five, 4, 6, 5, 5, 4.5, 4. At Adultsworth, City of Sheffield Diving Club, forward 2.5 somersaults, height 7.5 metre. Six and a half, 6, 5.5, 5.5, 6, 7, 6. Lily Chandler, Southampton Diving Academy, back 2.5 somersaults with tuck, 7.5 metre. Four and a half, 4, 4, 4.5, 4.5, 4, 4. Lucy Parker, Dive London Aquatics Club, inward 1.5 somersaults, height 5 metre. Six and a half, 6, 6, 6.5, 6.5, 5.5, 6. Elizabeth Hart, Southampton Diving Academy, forward 2.5 somersaults, height 7.5 metre. Six and a half, 6.5, 7, 7, 7, 6.5, 6.5. Hannah Blake, City of Sheffield Diving Club, forward 2.5 somersaults, height 7.5 metre. Seven, 7, 6.5, 7, 7.5, 7.5, 7. Libby Duke, Edinburgh Diving Club, arm stand back, double somersault, 1.5 twist, position free, 10 metre. 6, 6, 6.5, 6.5, 6.5, 6, 7. Hannah Newbrook, Dive London Aquatics Club, back 2.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists, pint, 10 metre. Five, 5.5, 5.5, 5.5, 5.5, 5.5. Round 2, Natalie, forward 2.5 somersaults, pint, 7.5 metre. Five and a half, 6, 6, 6, 5.5, 6, 6. Etta, inward 2.5 somersaults with tuck, 7.5 metre. Five, 4.5, 5, 4.5, 4.5. Lily, forward 2.5 somersaults, pint, 10 metre. 8, 7, 8, 8, 7.5, 7.5, 7.5. Lucy, forward 2.5 somersaults, pint, 7.5 metre. 6.5, 6, 6, 6.5, 6, 6, 6. Elizabeth, inward 2.5 somersaults with tuck, 7.5 metre. 7, 7.5, 7, 7.5, 8, 7, 7. Hannah, back 2.5 somersaults, pint, 10 metre. 6, 5.5, 6.5, 5.5, 6.5, 5.5, 5.5. Libby, back 2.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists, pint, 10 metre. 7, 6.5, 6.5, 6.5, 6.5, 6.5, 6. Hannah, inward 3.5 somersaults with tuck, 10 meter. Six and a half, 7, 6.5, 6.5, 6.5, 6.5, 6. Round 3, Natalie, back 1.5 somersaults pike, 5 meter. Four and a half, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 4, 4. Etta, back 1.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists, position 3, 7.5 meter. Five, 5, 5.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 4.5. Lily, inward 2.5 somersaults with tuck, 7.5 meter. Six and a half, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7.5, 6.5. Lucy, back 2.5 somersaults, a half twist, fight, 10 meter. Four and a half, 5, 4, 4.5, 4, 4.5, 4.5. Elizabeth, back 1.5 somersaults, fight, 5 meter. Seven, 6.5, 7, 6.5, 7.5, 7, 7. Hannah, inward 2.5 somersaults with tuck, 7.5 meter. Four and a half, 4, 5.5, 5, 5, 5, 5. Libby, forward 3.5 somersaults with tuck, 10 meter. 7, 7, 5.5, 7.5, 6.5, 6.5, 6.5. Hannah, arm stamped back, double somersaults, 1.5 twist, position free, 10 meter. Seven, 7, 7, 7, 7.5, 5.5, 6. Final round of dives. Natalie Barr, Southampton Diving Academy. Back 1.5 somersaults, 1.5 twist, position free, 5 meter. Four and a half, 5, 5, 5, 4.5, 5, 5.5. Etted Oldsworth, City of Sheffield Diving Club. Back 2.5 somersaults with tuck, 7.5 meter. Four and a half, 4, 5.5, 4.5, 4.5, 5.5, 5. Lily Chandler, Southampton Diving Academy, back 1.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists, position free, 7.5 meter. Seven and a half, 7, 7, 7.5, 7.5, 7.5, 7. Lucy Parker, Dive London Aquatics Club, back 2.5 somersaults with tuck, 7.5 meter. Four and a half, 5.5, 4.5, 4, 6.5, 5.5, 5.5. Elizabeth Hart, Southampton Diving Academy, back 1.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists, position free, 7.5 meter. Four, 6, 5, 6.5, 6, 6.5, 6. Hannah Blake, City of Sheffield Diving Club, reverse 1.5 somersaults with tuck, 5 meter. 7, 6.5, 7, 5.5, 7, 6.5, 6.5. Libby Duke, Edinburgh Diving Club, inward 2.5 somersaults, height 10 metre. Six, 7, 6.5, 6, 6, 6. Hannah Newbrook, Dive London Aquatics Club, forward 3.5 somersaults, height 10 metre. Four and a half, 4.5, 4.5, 5.5, 4.5, 4.5, 4.5. Thank you, divers, judges and recorders. We will have those results for you shortly. The boards are now open for training. And we have the results in reverse order. In 8th place, from Southampton Diving Academy, Natalie Barr, 289.95. In 7th place, Lucy Parker, Dive London Aquatics, 309.75. In 6th place, Etta Daltonworth, City of Sheffield, 314.60. In 5th place, Hannah Blake, City of Sheffield, 330.65. In 4th place, Elizabeth Hart, Southampton Diving, 343.15. And your medalists, Lily Chandler's in 3rd place from Southampton Diving Academy, 347.35. In 2nd place, Libby Duke, Edinburgh Diving, 380.95. And your winner, Hannah Newbrook, Dive London Aquatics, 393.40. Lily, Libby and Hannah, if you can make yourselves available for the medal presentations after these next two events.
Thank you, divers and coaches. The boards are now closed, and can we please ask for judges to take their seats promptly, please? We have the referee's permission to start the Group C boys 3-metre final. Can we have a diver up? Yes, we've got a diver up there. Okay, this is the Group C boys 3-metre final. Our first diver, Phoenix Victory Hopkins, do dive Dubai, inward 2.5 somersaults with tuck. Five and a half, 4.5, 5, 4.5, 4.5, 4.5, 4.5. Zane Seller, Aberdeen Diving Club, back 1.5 somersaults with tug. Six and a half, 7, 7.5, 6.5, 7, 7, 7. Felix Wheeler, City of Leeds Diving Club, inward 2.5 somersaults with tug. Six, 6.5, 6.5, 7, 6, 7, 6. Harry King, Southampton Diving Academy, forward 2.5 somersaults, piked. Six, 6.5, 7, 6.5, 6, 6, 6. Samuel Thomason, Aberdeen Diving Club, forward 1.5 somersaults, 1 twist, free position. Six, 7, 7, 6, 6.5, 6.5, 6.5. Joshua Saxton, Diveland and Aquatics Club, inward 2.5 somersaults with tug. Six, 6, 6.5, 6, 5.5, 5.5, 5.5. Ralph Airy, City of Leeds Diving Club, inward 2.5 somersaults with tug. Four and a half, 5, 5, 5.5, 5, 4.5, 4.5. Round 2, Phoenix, reverse 1.5 somersaults with tug. 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7.5, 7. Zane, forward 1.5 somersaults, 1 twist, free position. Five and a half, 6.5, 6. 6.5, 6.5, 5. Felix, reverse 2.5 somersaults with tug. Six, 6, 6.5, 6.5, 6, 5.5, 6. Harry, inward 2.5 somersaults with tug. Six, 5.5, 5.5, 6. 5.5, 6, 6.5. Samuel, forward 2.5 somersaults, height. Six and a half, 7, 7, 7, 6.5, 7, 7. Joshua, reverse 1.5 somersaults with tug. Six and a half, 7, 7, 6.5, 7, 7, 7. Ralph, reverse 2.5 somersaults with tug. Three and a half, 2.5, 4. 3.5, 2.5, 3, 2. Final round, Phoenix Victory Hopkins, do dive Dubai. Forward 2.5 somersaults, height. Six, 6.5, 6.5, 6.5, 6, 6, 6. Zane Seller, Aberdeen Diving Club. Forward 2.5 somersaults with tug. Five, 5.5, 5.5, 6. 5.5, 5.5, 5.5. Felix Wheeler, City of Leeds Diving Club. Back 2.5 somersaults with tug. 7, 6.5, 7. 6.5, 6.5, 7, 7. Harry King, Southampton Diving Academy. Back 1.5 somersaults with tug.
No one else in the whole group.
1.5, 2, 2.5, 2, 2.5, 2.5, 1.5. Samuel Thomason, Aberdeen Diving Club. In with 2.5 somersaults with tuck. Six, 6, 6.5, 6, 6.5, 6.5, 6. Joshua Saxton, Dive London Aquatics Club. Forward 2.5 somersaults, pikes. Six, 6.5, 6.5, 6.5, 6.5, 6.5, 5.5. Our final diver, Ralph Airy, City of Leeds Diving Club. Back 2.5 somersaults with tug. Three and a half, 4, 4.5, 4.5, 4, 4.5, 3.5. And that completes the Group C boys 3-metre final. Thank you, judges and officials and divers, and we'll have the results for you in a few moments. We have the results of the Group C boys 3-metre final. In 6th place, Harry King, Southampton Diving Academy, 275.15. 5th place, Zane Seller, Aberdeen Diving Club, 279.7. 4th, Ralph Airy, City of Leeds Diving Club, 287.05. And our guest in 4th place, Phoenix Victory Hopkins, 2Dive Dubai, 299.0. And on to the medalists in 3rd place, Samuel Thomason, Aberdeen Diving Club, 317.95. 2nd place, Joshua Saxton, Dive London Aquatics Club, 331.55. And in gold medal position, Felix Wheeler from the City of Leeds Diving Club with a score of 335.2.
I have the referee's permission for the girls group C 3 meter. We are just awaiting a diver. While we're waiting to start the competition, please could I ask that the medalists in the previous finals make their way to the parade assembly area? So to the call room, please. Lexi Clark, Caitlin Costa, Sky Fisheries, Lily Chandler, Libby Duke, Hannah Newbrook, Samuel Thomason, Joshua Saxton, and Felix Wheeler. Please could you make your way to the call room, please? Thank you. And we have the first diver on the board, Isla Applin from Plymouth Diving. Back 1.5 somersaults with tuck. Six, 7, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6.5. Ella Sweet, Southampton Diving. Back 1.5 somersaults with tuck. Six and a half, 6, 6, 6.5, 6, 6.5, 7. Willow Kestiver McGrath, City of Sheffield. Forward 2.5 somersaults with tuck. Six and a half, 6.5, 6.5, 7, 6.5, 7, 7. Alice Murphy, Southend Diving, forward 2.5 somersaults, pint. Five, 6, 5.5, 6.5, 6, 7, 7. Easy Diacon, City of Sheffield, forward 2.5 somersaults, pint. Seven, 7, 6.5, 6.5, 6.5, 7.5, 7.5. Jamelia Eakin, Edinburgh Diving, back 1.5 somersaults, pint. 7, 7, 6.5, 7, 6.5, 7.5, 7.5. Imogen Pool, Southampton diving, forward 2.5 somersaults, pint. Seven and a half, 8, 6.5, 8, 7, 7.5, 7. Round 2, Isla, forward 1.5 somersaults, 1 twist, position 3. Four, 4.5, 4.5, 4, 5.5, 5, 4.5. Ella, reverse 1.5 somersaults with tuck. Six, 6.5, 6, 6, 6, 6.5, 5.5. Willow, inward 1.5 somersaults, pint. 4.5, 5, 4.5, 4, 4.5, 4, 4. Alice, back 1.5 somersaults, pint. Five, 5.5, 4.5, 5, 4.5, 5, 5. Izzy, inward 2.5 somersaults with tuck. Six and a half, 8.5, 8, 7.5, 7, 7.5, 8. Jamila, forward 2.5 somersaults, pint. 6.5, 6.5, 6.5, 6, 7, 7, 7. Imogen, inward 2.5 somersaults with tuck. 5, 5, 5.5, 5.5, 5.5, 4.5, 5. Before we start the final round of dives, could I ask the medalists, please, in the previous events to make their way immediately to the call room? Thank you. Final round of dives. Isla Applin, Plymouth Diving, forward 2.5 somersaults with tuck. Five, 5.5, 5.5. Ella Sweet, Southampton Diving, forward 2.5 somersaults, pike. Six, 6.5, 5.5, 5.5, 6, 6.5, 6. Willow Kestava McGrath, City of Sheffield Diving, back 1.5 somersaults, say half twist, position free. Seven and a half, 7, 7, 7.5, 7, 8, 7.5. Alice Murphy, Southend Diving, forward 1.5 somersaults, 2 twists, position free. Five and a half, 6, 6, 6, 6.5, 5.5, 6.5. Izzy Diacon, City of Sheffield, back 1.5 somersaults, pipes. Five and a half, 4.5, 5.5, 5, 5.5, 5.5, 6. Jamila Eakin, Edinburgh Diving, inward 2.5 somersaults with tuck. Six, 5.5, 6, 5.5, 6.5, 6.5, 7. Imogen Poole, Southampton Diving, back 1.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists, position free. Six, 6.5, 6, 6, 6.5, 6, 7. Thank you, divers, judges and recorders. We will have those results in just a moment. Another reminder for all the medalists to go to the parade assembly area. And Lindsay, please.
We have the results now for you for the Group C Girls 3-metre final. In 7th place, Isla Applin, Plymouth Diving, 253.4. 6th place, Ella Sweet, Southampton Diving Academy, 273.1. 5th, Willoka Stephen McGrath, City of Sheffield Diving Club, 274.9. 4th place, Alice Murphy, Southend Diving, 294.8. In 3rd place, Izzy Diacon, City of Sheffield Diving Club, 311.9. 2nd place, Jamila Ekin, Edinburgh Diving Club, 329.2. And in gold medal position, Imogen Poole, representing Southampton Diving Academy with a score of 335.95. Can we ask the 3 medalists from that final, Imogen, Jamila and Izzy, make their way to the call room for the medal presentation? Thank you. Gentlemen, the victory ceremony for the Group B Girls 3-metre. And these medals will be presented by Lindsay Fraser. For those of you who may or may not know, Lindsay is a recently retired coach. She's an Olympic diver, an Olympic judge. She's a very much loved and respected friend of diving. Happy retirement, Lindsay. I'm sure we can give her a big, big clap. Okay, in 3rd place, Lexi Clark, Dive London Aquatics Club with a score of 321.45. Your silver medalist, representing Dive London Aquatics Club, with a score of 333.7, Caitlin Costa. And your gold medalist and Group B Girls 3-metre Great Britain Elite Junior Diving Champion 2024, representing Dive London Aquatics Club, with a score of 336.35, Sky Fisher-Eames. Ladies and gentlemen, a big hand for your Group B Girls 3-metre medalists. Ladies and gentlemen, the victory ceremony for the Group 8 girls platform final. Medals once again to be presented by Lindsay Fraser. Your bronze medalist representing Southampton Diving Academy with a score of 347.35, Lily Chandler. And in silver medal position, representing Edinburgh Diving Club with a score of 380.95, Libby Duke. And your gold medalist and Group 8 girls platform, Great Britain Elite Junior Diving Champion 2024, representing Dive London Aquatics Club with a score of 393.4, Hannah Newbrook. Ladies and gentlemen, a big hand for your Group 8 girls platform medalists.
Andy, just to let you know, TVs are going to need to go away tonight. The TVs, the screens. Are they? Is that you responsible for all that? Well, all of us. All right. Basically, screens and like computers, because they've got paddleboard polo in here after at 8:30. You definitely don't want screens breaking. I'm going to put the double judge chair in front of this section, so that's not hit.
Ladies and gentlemen, the victory ceremony for the Group C boys 3 metre.
Yeah, that's right. That'll be right.
And these medals to be presented by Jenny Leeming, who's recently appointed Performance Pathway Lead for Diving. Well done, Jenny. In bronze medal position, representing Aberdeen Diving Club with a score of 317.95, Samuel Thomason. Silver medalist representing Dive London Aquatics Club with a score of 331.55, Joshua Saxton. And your gold medalist and Group C boys 3 metre Great Britain Elite Junior Diving Champion 2024, representing the City of Leeds Diving Club with a score of 335.2, Felix Wheeler. Ladies and gentlemen, your Group C boys 3 metre medalists. Ladies and gentlemen, the final victory ceremony of the day. This is for the Group C girls 3 metre. Medals once again to be presented by Jenny Leeming. In bronze medal position, representing the City of Sheffield Diving Club with a score of 311.9, Izzy Diacon. In silver medal position, representing Edinburgh Diving Club with a score of 329.2, Jamila Ekin. And your gold medalist in Group C Girls 3 metre Great Britain Elite Junior Diving Champion 2024, representing Southampton Diving Academy with a score of 335.95, Imogen Poole. Ladies and gentlemen, your Group C Girls 3 metre medalists. There we go, everybody. That completes day 1 of this season's championships. Hope you've had a good day. If you're staying in Birmingham tonight, have a nice time. If you're going home, take it easy. We'll see you bright.